Hello world! Today I'm going to be doing a bullet journal video for the start of the semester, for the start of September. I know I'm a little late, but better late than ever, right? I am doing this on waning light in the afternoon, which is not the greatest idea in the world, and I am propped up with my phone as well, which is also not the greatest quality in the world, but alas, my camera takes up way too much battery, and the first time I did a bullet journal video, or at least attempted to do a bullet journal video, it came out very long. I want to make sure that I'm putting down everything that I need while also not maxing out on my hard drive. So first I'll explain my spreads. The first 3 spreads that I have will be for my courses, and then I will be doing a spread for the videos that I'll be making in September, and finally a big monthly September spread. Hopefully this video will give you a different idea to the kind of weekly spreads that are normally seen in this genre. And so without further ado, I will switch to time-lapse and start with my courses. So I just wanted to quickly explain what my setup looks like for the courses that I'm taking. For each course, I've written the weekly schedules here so that I know each week what the topics are and what the readings are as well. I've left these ones blank because there are a myriad of different readings for this class, and so I need some time to figure out what exactly to put in these boxes. Once that's finished, then I go on to kind of the weekly assignments. For both these classes, there is a regular weekly blog post or discussion post that I have to do. So I've just drawn the number of boxes that I need, and I will take one off every time I've done a weekly post. Then I have smaller assignments like a reading presentation or an in-class presentation that's likely not going to take too much of my time and won't have a lot of tasks associated with it. So then I have those below. This class doesn't really have that. And then finally I have the bigger projects that are in each class. For this class, it's pretty simple. There's just a midterm and a final, whereas here there are several smaller projects that I need to work on, and I'll keep these blank until I know specifically what I want to do for these. So these spreads are going to change as the semester goes on, but pretty much this helps me set up what it's going to look like for the rest of the semester. Now I have one more class that I'm not too sure about. I'm still on waiting lists for some stuff, and so I'll leave this blank until I finalize the class that I am taking, but I'll follow the same steps that I did beforehand. And then now I'm going to move on to the spread that has all the YouTube videos. This is, I guess, particular to people who do make videos, but if you are someone who's doing kind of weekly projects or projects every other week maybe, this might be a good spread to have. I'm gonna have the date for each video, and then the title of the video, or at least the idea for the video, and then a set to-do list for each video so that I know what I need to get done for each video. And it also helps me plan out what videos I want to upload or make for the future. Reminds me of back in high school when we had to write a lot of exams. Now I've come to my final main spread that is going to be my monthly spread. I've ticked a little mark for boxes that are 7 by 7 little dots, and then I have 7 days across the way. I usually start with Monday and end on Sunday because I go by the idea that the weekend is the weekend, and so therefore it should be at the end of the week, but you will see that in the next time lapse. Yeah, let's get that started. I usually feel like that's the most satisfying part of a bullet journal video, so I hope you guys have fun watching this next part. I apologize in advance for my terrible aesthetic skills. As you'll see, I don't really go for aesthetics here. It's more practicality, and I'm also trying to use as little space as I can so that I can make the most out of my bullet journal. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, just a quick point here, the page doesn't actually have enough dots so that you have a perfect 7x7 box that ends on the spine here. And it's kind of weird to extend one box across the spine in my perspective. Instead, I just sacrifice one dot or one spot. So these two boxes are half a point smaller than the rest of the boxes, if that makes any sense. So then the next kind of specific thing that I like to do is to erase all of the little divides in the section that doesn't have any dates on it so that I can write projects that extend for the entire month. I mean, retrospectively, this could be prettier without the whiteout, but I never seem to remember to leave these blank before actually drawing all the lines, so that's what I get. Finally, I also like to put my habit trackers here. I know I really like to maximize out on space, and so for those of you who are very into aesthetic bullet journal videos, I'm really sorry, this is not one of those. This is pure practicality. Again, I'm trying to waste as little space as possible to be sustainable so that I don't use up too many of these bullet journals, but also just to save space and to have everything kind of visually together. So I previously did a bunch of habit trackers and never actually kept track of any of my habits, but the two that I usually use are my exercises and chores. So those are the two that I've maintained. Currently I'm living with my parents, so there isn't a lot of outside expenses, so that's a nice privilege of mine currently. But when I'm living alone or with roommates, I will also have a bigger kind of spread that has all of my finances. I keep track of everything that I spend, and so usually if that is the case, if it's a month where I'm spending a lot of my own money and living out on my own, then I will have the habit trackers along with kind of a full page spread that has expenses. But for this month, again, living with my parents, don't need to worry too much about the outside finances, and so just the habit trackers that I previously talked about. Under the habit trackers, I'm just going to have a notes section. And finally, the title, which is going to be September, and making it pretty. Again, I'm not a very aesthetic person, but to pay respects to the bullet journal genre, I will add a little bit of washi tape that I got from Daiso for about $1. It's very cute, and I think it works very well with the color of my bullet journal. And the title, I've been really liking a particular style. I did it for August, where you have the highlight in the back and then a smaller version of the word in black pen in the middle. And that is 100% stolen from Ono Nina's bullet journal style, and so I give 100% credit to her. Stealing is the greatest form of flattery, and so take it as a kind of style homage, and let's finish off this bullet journal. Oh shoot, I forgot the washi tape. Hold on. The last thing I wanted to cover is quickly just how I actually fill out the monthly spread. First, I have little symbols for each of the exercise and the chore section. So for exercises, I will have just like a little dumbbell. For the chore section, I usually use different icons for different things that I'm doing. So I might do a little washing machine if I'm doing laundry that day, or maybe like a lawnmower if I want to do the garden for that day. And that's just so that I keep track of when was the last time I've done laundry, when was the last time I cut the grass, so that nothing gets kind of left behind. For the actual spread, I usually just do a basic to-do list for that day, and then at the very top I will have my meetings highlighted in yellow, the time, who I'm meeting, that kind of thing. At the bottom, I'll also do any expenses or income. Like I said previously, when I lived alone or just with roommates and I had to be a little more stringent with my own expenses, I had an entire spread for that, but because right now I don't really take into consideration the everyday expenses that I have for food or for rent and that kind of stuff because I'm living with my parents, I've just ended up using the main spread for that and doing big amounts of money, maybe paychecks that are coming in, or big purchases. For ongoing projects that I don't really put into my to-do list, I will highlight out several days or weeks at a time so that I know that those weeks are dedicated to a specific project. One, for example, that is in these spreads. That's ultimately the reason why I have a monthly spread like this. I've always found that university projects don't just end in a week or so, and so the weekly spread always made me forget what I had the previous week, even though it was an ongoing thing. And so the monthly spread, I feel like, is a little more all-encompassing and can help you visually see what you have that might be going on for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. That's it. That's my bullet journal setup. I hope that was helpful for you if you are starting to plan for your semester. And I hope you guys have a good month, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hello, Editing Jess here, and I just wanted to provide a couple of reflections in order to better understand the types of videos that I am making. Today we did the bullet journal video genre, and so I just wanted to go over a couple of thoughts that I had while I was making the video. So the first one is the technical equipment and the art skills required to make a bullet journal video. Now there's a lot of very professionally produced, high quality bullet journal videos out there, and absolutely in terms of that genre, the kinds of equipment and the skills that they're working with is pretty obvious. But I think the lure of the bullet journal video is also that it is part of a lot of lifestyle vloggers' corpus as well. So you'll have people who don't have bullet journal videos as the main attraction for their channel also making them from time to time, just as a reflection of their own habits. So I think those videos in particular give off the impression that the genre is rather accessible. And to a certain extent it is, but I think there are levels to the genre, and the higher you go, the more specific your equipment gets. There seems to be a convention in the types of materials that are seen on screen as well. So not just the technical aspects of the video, the preparation parts of it, but also the types of pens you're using, the types of highlighters. I didn't specify which highlighters or pens I was using because I just like big basic pens. There wasn't too much to specify there, I think. So school supply videos or art supply videos might be a good tangential genre to look at in relation to the bullet journal video. For me, I was just kind of going for practicality, but I totally get that there are a lot of people out there who are watching bullet journal videos for aesthetics. That's also an interesting research question to consider, maybe like a survey type study to see what viewers are actually watching for. Are they watching for kind of aesthetically pleasing videos that are definitely too perfect for actual real people to make? Or are they watching for inspiration that they could potentially incorporate into their own bullet journals, or a combination of the two? And if that's the case, which is more important, and how do these two ideas kind of interact with each other? The second idea or reflection that I came upon was the idea of reflecting your own life or your routine in your bullet journal video. So I talked about living with my parents and not having to track expenses. And I think those types of personal things are definitely part of the bullet journal video, even though there are a lot of people doing spreads that seem to be applicable to everyone. So the degree of personalization within your bullet journal spread is also an interesting factor to be looking at within the genre. I've seen videos for student-oriented spreads by people who weren't students, at least who weren't students anymore. And so were they using their own bullet journal for that? Or do they have a work-oriented bullet journal that is just for creating bullet journal videos? That I think that's an interesting thing to consider, especially if you think about the idea that the bullet journal should be personalized. And I think along with that, there was just a tingling of pressure for me to make my spread reflect a put together life. Bullet journal videos, in my perspective is already for people who are very organizational oriented, who like to keep track of habits, who like to keep track of thoughts and schedules and stuff like that. And so I think it's a very tempting route to follow, to then have that organization be a reflection or an implied reflection of a life that is together. That would be an interesting theme, perhaps, to look through bullet journal videos with. How many videos are associated with personal growth, with spiritual growth, because that's also part of the genre as well. There's a lot of people who journal along with their bullet journal, right? It's part of the name of the bullet journal. There's a lot of people who put those personal thoughts into their journal, who have spreads that are about taking time out of their day to reflect. But there are also a lot of videos, my own included perhaps, that are fully about practicality, fully about productivity and how to make sure your bullet journal keeps you productive as long as possible, that kind of thing. These kind of tensions might be interesting to think about in both thematic analysis, but also potentially in survey-based research. I think there is a value to maybe seeing how people's bullet journal practices are influenced directly by these videos, because I do think there is easy real-world application to these videos that people might be following. So those are my thoughts. They're not very well formed, but that I think is part of this whole trying out different YouTube genres experience, is just that I make these videos in order to help myself understand them a little better. And so the last little bit here is just to keep me critical, keep me thoughtful in terms of what I'm making. And that is it for editing, Jess, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!